Where do you think is this deal going to lead to in the war?
I'm afraid it's not going to have much of an impact on the war. In fact, the Israeli Minister of Defense Gallant earlier, very emphatically declared that this war was going to continue on and that this was not a ceasefire in the traditional sense. It was just a pause in the fighting to allow the hostages exchange to go on back and forth. But once that's finished, he said they're going to continue to go right back on the objective of destroying Hamas. So this will be a pause temporarily. And of course, the people of Palestine are the biggest benefactors because they get a chance to, at least for a few days, to have the bombs and aerial bombardment stop and for food and water to get in. So they're taking every advantage of that. But it is a temporary situation and it's going to continue on where it left off, I'm afraid.
So what happens to the situation in Gaza as they brace for the war to resume again?
A lot of concern about that because, Israel had required 1 million people thereabouts to vacate the northern part of Gaza, south of the Wadi Gaza, so that they could conduct their operations in the north. When that's finished, and actually even before that's done, all evidence shows that Israel is about ready to move into the southern part of it. So now then you have close to 2 million people squashed into an area that did have about 1. And so the density of people is going to be much higher. If there has been over 13,000 casualties among the innocent Palestinian population, one can only imagine how much higher that's going to be when the Israeli Defense Forces moves into the south. And that is a great deal of consternation, both among many Western and European nations, as well as, of course, the Arab regimes in the region. And it's a lot of controversy about, the rules of engagement that the Israeli forces are applying to themselves and different interpretations of that. And it's a dicey game because Israel wants to destroy the Hamas terrorists that actually attacked Israel on 10/7. But if they go too far and are careless with the civilian population, they could lose Western support, and then they could gain the ire of many Arabs in the region, and eventually could even cause a new front to open up in the north with Hezbollah out of Lebanon. That remains to be seen, but there is a risk if Israel goes too heavy with the casualties, that could happen.
What about within Israel? We saw many families protesting outside Netanyahu's office. What kind of sentiment will now resonate within the Israelis after this call of 4-day truce has been arrived at?
There's a lot of dispute within the Israeli community itself that there is a certain group that says, no, we can't talk to the Hamas at all. We can't make these negotiations. It's only going to help them. We need to keep the pressure on. We don't need to have any pauses. And they say that's what will get the hostages released. Then you have the families, and of course, they are not in agreement with that for the most part. They want the hostages out first before the Israeli Defense Forces move any further in there and risk killing some of the hostages inadvertently in the very attacks that they're doing against Hamas. Then you also have within the Israeli society a portion of the Jewish people who say, hey, we're going too far and we're actually killing too many of the Palestinians. We're being careless with their lives, and that's not something that they want on their name. And then there's a fourth crew that says, yeah, I'm not even concerned about the Palestinian lives. They were part of the problem, and if they get killed, it's too bad for them. That's a blunt statement, and it's unfortunate, but that is a reality of what we're facing. And so that Israeli government's got a lot of different pressures to balance off on how it operates.